Okay, here we are. Hi, everyone. Nicole Christina here with my friend and colleague, Carrie Luderin,
Hello.
professional organizer. And we are back again for our Friday at 3 o'clock little mini decluttering time. And this is all about boosting our moods. Many of you know I'm also a psychotherapist. And what I'm finding is that people, this is the clinical word, they're feeling really blah. They're just
Mhm.
feeling so flat, so gray, but then they're also saying there's kind of an interesting mix because they're also feeling like they've got ADD. So it's this weird combination of just like, ugh, I can do that later because time means nothing now. And but sometimes people are finding that bursts of energy and they'd like to do something. So we're going for small wins, and we're hoping that talking to you about decluttering, these little mini decluttering sessions are going to add a little bit of structure to your day, which is very helpful for all of us. And we have very little, most of us right now. We'll provide you with a bit of a distraction, which I'm finding, and Carrie knows I've been completely obsessed with. And I have some, if you want to know, sourdough started right now, timed
Nice.
perfectly for our broadcast because, and then we'll work on that later. That's my distraction. Provide you with a little sense of accomplishment, which many of us are feeling little or none, and a little taste or a little bit of feeling some control. Many of us are feeling like I had a client ask me last night, she said, when is this going to be over? And kind of waited for an answer. And I thought, you know, I know some stuff, but I don't
There,
know.
there is no answer
There's
right
no
now.
answer to that. I've got nothing for you right
Right.
now. None of us know.
Mm-mm.
And we're just trying to figure out a way to get through the day with a little bit, maybe better mood, a little bit more optimism, and a little bit more hope. So today we're going to talk about the bathroom. And the reason we're picking the bathroom, we're doing a lot of different rooms and different areas that we can do little decluttering in. Bathroom is a quite a repository of a lot of crap. Um,
It
and
is.
so
It's a
talk
practical space.
so talk about that, Carrie. What are the kinds of cluttering challenges we may find in the bathroom?
Well, I know we talked last week about the kitchen, and the bathroom is similar in that it's this very practical space. Like we have specific activities that we need to do in that space. Most often, our bathrooms are not a really huge space, so it really has to do. It has to be very functional in a small
Mhm.
footprint. So I think the biggest source of clutter is people's products, like whether it's hair stuff, cosmetics, skincare, soaps, all of that. And
I wonder if they increase as we get older or they decrease. That's a question I would be really curious
I'm
to
sure
figure
it varies
out.
by the
And
person.
yes,
I've
yes.
I've kind of had a large volume throughout my lifespan, but I've always been
You're
like,
a collector of
I
sorts.
love makeup and all of that stuff. So yeah, that's a good question. But we talked last week about how the pantry and your kitchen can kind of be this black hole where you buy an ingredient for one recipe and you use it once and then it goes in there, it goes in the spice cabinet and it's never seen again. I think that this can be the case for our bathroom products as well, that, we buy something on impulse or we buy something new to try. And we then, after a couple uses, figure out like, it doesn't work the way we wanted, or it doesn't smell good to us or
Or
whatever.
it's not
And
changing your life.
yeah, it's not right. It hasn't like erased all my wrinkles or done some magic. So, but we don't toss it because we just spent money on it. We put it somewhere in the bathroom, in the medicine cabinet, under the vanity. That's another space that can get really unwieldy,
Mhm.
and it's never revisited. So I think that this is maybe a good time to do that. And this can again be kind of a small win. It doesn't have to be a huge project, but maybe dig some of that stuff out now and take a look and ask yourself some questions like, do I use this? Do I like it? When's the last time I gave it a try?
Do
you
I
know?
remember purchasing it?
Right, right. How old is it? This is another area like the pantry where there's often a lot of expired things.
Mm-hmm.
And products do expire. Makeup all has a lifespan. Powder products like blush and eyeshadow, maybe a year or two, but liquid products is really only a few months usually. Like
Wow.
mascaras, things that you use around your eyes, especially, are prone to growing bacteria and stuff, and that can cause infections. So, yeah, if you have cosmetics that you can't remember how old they are, they've probably outlived their usefulness, and you should just toss them because it's really not worth, getting like an eye
Mm-hmm.
infection, especially now. We don't want to go to the doctors anymore
No,
than
good point.
absolutely necessary.
I see. I was reading, and we talked about this before we went on the air, that most women own 40 makeup products. How many do you own,
I
Carrie?
don't know. I don't count. To be honest, I do try to weed out my collection periodically, and I'm pretty good
Mm-hmm.
about doing that. So, I
What's your criteria when you go through your makeup? And I know you love to play with
I
it,
do. It's
and
so
I
fun.
love to tease you about it, but I know it's fun for you. What's your criteria in terms of like this one stays, this one goes?
I do try to keep the frequency of use in mind. I do practice a little bit of keeping a curated collection out. So I do have some space on my counter where I do this kind of thing, and I keep certain products out, and then I'll swap them out with other things that I keep kind of hidden under the vanity. That is just
Mm-hmm.
because seasonally sometimes I like to wear like different colors at different times of the year,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. But usually, when I'm feeling like I want to do that swap out and pull some of the things out, I'll take a look at the things that haven't been in the current rotation, and I'll ask myself, like, am I really going to use this? Or
Mm-hmm.
also, how old is it? I try to pay attention to that, and I find that I get tired of certain products. I think that's common too. You might use something for
Mm-hmm.
a while and like it for
Mm-hmm.
a period of time, and then maybe you find something a similar product that you like better.
Mm-hmm.
So then I try to be aware of that and get rid of the old version that I'm no longer. If I found something new that I like better, I'm not gonna go revisit the old one probably.
I wonder if people are starting to have different ideas about makeup now with COVID. Many people are no longer wearing a lot of
Right.
makeup or makeup at all. And, I'm
I'm
just
not
curious.
unless I have to come
Yeah,
on here.
right.
I
So
have
I'm
no
wondering,
reason.
right, exactly. So I'm wondering if people are saying, I have 5 shades of eyeshadow. I used to wear those, but I'm kind of liking my life more simplified, and I might reconsider all these products just
Yeah.
because I'm changing my view on how I want to spend my time, for example.
And a great point. And I have heard that just anecdotally from some friends. They're like, I used to always feel like I had to be made up for other
Mm-hmm.
people. But now that I've been living all these weeks without wearing makeup, I've really gotten to feel good about myself without it. And
Mm-hmm.
I think moving forward, we might see, the no makeup look is going to be more in fashion because people are like, you know what, I don't need that in my life. And,
No makeup
that's
and gray hair.
that's right. I know.
It'll be
All
a
of us
whole
with our roots
revolution.
roots growing in, it's the new thing.
It's a new thing. Yay.
Yeah.
So, so on the other end, in terms of purchasing, one of the things that many of us are doing, myself included, and it's difficult to avoid because sometimes we're just looking for stuff to do, and we may feel a little blue, is going online and buying stuff. Um, and so I'm wondering about sort of controlling the flow of clutter coming in. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah. Well, that's some advice I could use for myself, I guess.
Mhm.
Yeah, I feel like with things like cosmetics and beauty products, oftentimes they're not a huge investment. And you can go to the drugstore and pick up a new lipstick, and it's like this really small amount of money, and it kind of gives you this little boost. And even if we're doing stuff online now, we might, it's easy to toss those things in your online cart because it's only, $8 or whatever. So as a person who is tempted by that often when I'm out shopping or now when I'm shopping online, I try to think about, this goes for any kind of small impulse purchase. If you can get a sense of how much you're spending overall on those things, because in the moment it's easy to justify $5, $10, whatever. But if you think like, oh, usually every time I run to Target, I pick up a new lipstick or a new something. If you can, maybe you don't need to exactly do the math, but if you can just get a sense of like, okay, well, what does that actually add up to over time? If I'm doing that once a week and it's only $8 over the course of a year, that's a significant amount of money. So if we can kind of think about our impulse buys in that way and ask ourselves if that is money well spent to you, like if that is something that is
That's
fun
bang for the buck, yeah,
then I think that's fine. But if you look at that amount and you're like, gee, I really could have bought something significant with that. I don't even remember, or I have 100 lipsticks. I don't need another one, in my case, then maybe that can give you that little push to put the brakes on that kind of spending.
And maybe asking yourself, I mean, this is from the mindfulness tradition, what is it that I really need? I think I need to talk to a friend or maybe take a nap or something. Likely that you don't need another lipstick, but you are yearning for something. So maybe to ask yourself,
right. Are there
questions? Is there something?
Alternatives that are maybe healthier or really do kind of boost you up. I think that our, retail therapy is very fleeting. It might feel good briefly, but usually by the time I get home and put the color on, I'm like, I don't even really like this, and then it's just like one more thing that I have to think about decluttering someday. So yeah,
that's good advice. So one of the things that we talked a little bit about also is, so we've got the makeup. We already determined we only use roughly 5 items of makeup, even though we have 40 on average. So we've got an overflow of makeup, most of us. I try a lot of different cleansing products, and I haven't really been in love with any of them. But some of them, as you say, they're costly, so they're sitting back there doing nothing, just gathering dust. We also have things like hair dryers, brushes, different shapes of brushes. And we may have soaps and, all that kind of stuff. Do you think there's a particularly helpful way to categorize those or simplify those so it's not as overwhelming?
Well, a couple things. I think, again, doing a little reflection on what's getting used and what isn't. One way you can determine that, if you're really not sure, say with like hair tools or hair accessories and stuff like that, you could put all of those things in a box and move it maybe out of the bathroom, stick it in your linen closet or somewhere else. And then as you need them, pull them out and bring them back into the bathroom. And over time, you will see that some of those things never leave the box. And
you don't miss them.
Yeah, they're just, and that's a way to like cue yourself in like, oh yeah, I really don't use that curling iron, or I never wear a headband. And so, those are some possibilities for decluttering. As far as, the stuff that you do need in the bathroom, I think that containing things in a way that's appropriate can be really helpful. So, I know personally, the products that I use, like when I get out of the shower, I like to have them out on my counter. I just find it's more helpful than having to dig under the vanity or whatever. But I try to keep them in a nice looking container on my counter, and it just keeps them from kind of encroaching everywhere. It also helps in terms of, cleaning the bathroom. It's tough to pick every little piece up and wipe under it. But if it's all in one bin or tray or whatever the case may be. You can just kind of lift it up. And it also gives you a maximum, I have
a limit.
Yeah, it's like what fits in there is what I can keep out here. So that's helpful too.
That's great. We could talk also for a moment about cleaning products. A lot of people keep their bathroom cleaning products under the sink. And there are about 5 bajillion cleaning products you might use. Many of them have the same kinds of ingredients. I'm a big fan of using Dr. Bronner's. Hashtag Dr. Bronner.
Right, not sponsored.
Not sponsored by Dr. Bronner's, but it's a vegetable based soap. It's very it's super non-toxic. Some people even brush their teeth with it, which does not sound appealing to me, but you can use it to do a lot of things. You can just squirt some in your toilet, you can use it on your sink, and it's non-toxic. So that's really lovely, especially if you have animals. Do you have any ideas about like that kind of thing, product overload, and how to simplify some of these things?
I think it, really comes back to the, what's getting used and what isn't. Again, cleaning products, like everything else, we buy it and then maybe it didn't work like we wanted or whatever, but it's just hanging out there now. And asking yourself, how many of those things do I need? As you're saying, are there things that can do double duty? Can you buy just a general surface cleaning spray and use it on everything rather than having, the spray for the kitchen and the spray for the glass? And the spray,
right. Which they'd love you to buy.
Of course.
They're just making up things to sell.
Everything is so specialized now, right? But that's interesting that you mentioned that about using Dr. Bronner's to like clean the toilet. I would never have considered that, but that's like an extra thing that, we think, oh, we need to have a special cleaner for the toilet. I know that I'm not really well versed in natural cleaning products, but I've done a little bit. Like I use like a vinegar and water for cleaning floors and stuff.
Yep.
And it really works great. It's non-toxic, as you say. And it means I don't have to have another product to do that one specific job, and that you can use vinegar as a cleaner for,
a lot of things,
everything around the house. Yeah. So,
and people can Google that. There's tons of information about baking soda, lemon juice, and vinegar.
Right. That's not my area of expertise, but it's definitely out there. And especially as you say, if you have little kids and pets and you really need to keep things non-toxic on the surfaces of your home, I think those are some great options and can also help you reduce the clutter of that stuff too.
And one of the things that we talk about in the course, too much stuff, and we'll talk more about the course in a moment, but is this idea that space has value, is, going underneath the vanity and having space and not having to go through the overwhelm of, okay, now where's that thing I'm looking for? Where's that, cleanser? Something about simplifying really feels good to our brains somehow.
Yeah, I agree. And I think at this moment in time, especially, we could use a little more calm and, just feeling a little better in our space. And paring things down is an easy way to do that. And again, if people go through all of their bathroom products and are like, yeah, I'm not ready to get rid of all of the stuff yet, maybe just relocate it for now, set it aside and just see how that feels. Does it feel better? Does, it feel good when you walk into the bathroom to have the countertop more clear? Is it easier for you to navigate your home, as we're talking about having small wins? I think that's what we're really trying to get at. Like, just these are incremental changes, but they add up. And if each space in your house is just a little more easy to navigate, I think the overall experience can be improved.
We're trying to cut down here on frustration and irritation because one of the things we know about what people are experiencing living with COVID and the quarantine, people are talking a lot about feeling irritable, grumpy, just testy. And so, if we could sort of offer a way to have a more clear space, and so you don't have to deal with the irritation of looking for things with a lot of clutter in your way, that can be really helpful.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Thing that I'll talk about decluttering, which is related to the bathroom, is linens. So
Okay.
things like towels. Um, I think we touched on this last week, talking about how many dishes do you need to function in
Mhm.
your home, and it's really just enough that will get you through until you wash them.
Mhm.
And with things like towels and sheets and stuff like that, it's a similar, I try to look at it that way as well. Like, how many extras of these things do you need? Um, depending on your household, you may need a significant number of towels, but again, these are wash and reuse items.
Mhm.
So the number that you have is like your stockpile is probably, not that big. So
That's
that's
another thing that accumulates. I think we buy new ones and then we never get rid of the raggy ones.
right, because we're like, oh, we'll need this for
Yeah.
something, and if you have a dog that you have to walk,
Mhm.
you might need a few extras. But again,
Mhm.
take a look at your collection, because the linen closet's another space that I find is often very frustrating, kind of like, where
Mhm.
you store the plastic containers in your kitchen. Like, the linen closet can be like that, where stuff is like heaped up and it's hard to get things out. And
Mhm.
really just minimizing that, I think. Keeping the few quality items rather than this giant mass of all the old ones that you've had since the 80s.
Mhm.
You could just say goodbye to some of those.
And as we age, I think many people are finding that they're trying to concentrate more on the quality because perhaps, we're really appreciating like this beautiful, really fluffy towel. I'm always using this one. I'm not using the one I got at, Ollie's or whatever.
Right, that's all
Um,
scratchy
yeah,
and
and yeah, right, exactly. And so, this idea of prioritizing things and saying, I deserve a nice towel. And so the idea of, what's the quality? And if you're going to buy sheets, it's nice to buy high quality sheets and towels, even though they're more expensive. In the
right.
long run, actually, they may not be more expensive if you're keeping them longer. I was telling you a few minutes ago, I just bought some sheets that have tencel in them, and tencel's really long wearing and it's very soft. And I was aware that they were a little more expensive, but I was trying to be a little bit more forward thinking.
Right. I
Yeah.
think that's a great point. Yeah.
Mhm.
And, the less shopping that you have to do too. You
Mhm.
don't have to be replacing things so frequently. So,
Mhm. Yeah, that's great. So let's talk about the course a little bit. One of the things that we do that's different is we have your experience and your practical knowledge about how to do this. And there's a word I'm trying to use, and I can't remember it. But you have a lot of great systems that
mm,
I was not aware of, and how to walk people through decluttering and simplifying. It's not as easy as it sounds. If it were so easy, everyone would have done this a long time ago. And then I bring the emotional piece of, guess what? This is hard. There's a reason you get often flooded with emotions. And so how do you deal with that? So we have the two expertises going at the same time. Do you want to talk more about what makes our course a little different?
I think you said it really well. We come at it from these two different perspectives, and
Mhm.
I think a lot of the advice out there is very simple, like, oh, just put it in these different categories. And yes, when it comes down to it, that is the action that's being taken. But getting to that point where you can do that is, I think, where a lot of us get tripped up in the process, because
Mhm.
our stuff some things are easy to declutter, but a lot of things that we own are
Mm-hmm.
tied up in emotions, things having to do with our past relationships, people who have passed away and left us things, and all the complicated feelings we have about those people. So it's more than just, making this quick decision.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I think we have to get to that point where we can make the decision. And I think that's where our course kind of fills in that gap, where we do talk about, the emotional issues, why they're there, how you can, you're not going to necessarily overcome everything, but you're going to have some tools in place where you can deal with those feelings and allow yourself to still make progress.
One of the things I like best about our class is that you and I came up with a booklet, and we ask questions that I think are really helpful in guiding people. How do I go about this? What's important to me? Why is this difficult? If I have these emotions, what am I supposed to do with them? And I think that's a little bit of a different way to come at it than just holding it up and saying, when's the last time I used this? There's 3 piles, put it in, and we're done.
Right. We talk, like, the course begins, and if people this is the first you're hearing about it, we have a video course online. It's self-directed. You can take it at your own pace, and it involves 4 video lessons with Nicole and I, and then a printable workbook. And like you're saying, in the workbook, we give some questions that will help you reflect on the material that we're presenting, and kind of bring it back to your own life and your own thoughts about these things, and help you to work through that a little bit. So, like, the initial chapter is about motivation, finding your motivation. What are the underlying reasons why you want to do this project of decluttering your house, or decluttering a specific space, and really doing, even just spending a few minutes thinking about that and actually writing it down, I think can really solidify it and can help you when you get going and you start feeling like,
then times get tough and
I don't want to do that. You can have that, on hand. And I recommend even writing it briefly down on something and keeping that handy in the space that you're decluttering, tape it on the wall, so that, you can be reminded of the real reason, not just my house is a mess, but
and everybody knows I should declutter.
Right.
And I should. I think that there's also one thing I'm proud about is that we bring this sort of self-compassion to it, which is, of course there's reasons. Of course this is hard. It's emotional. These people may have had ambivalent relationships with you. Give yourself a break. And if you get overwhelmed, it's time to put it down. Go take a rest, go get some, tea.
Do some breathing exercises as you actually present in our course.
That's right.
You can kind of like bring the stress level down a little bit.
Yep. It's not go do it and, pull yourself up by the bootstraps and, it's not that kind of thing. And so I'm hoping that it offers people, an opportunity to have a little bit more self-awareness of the process and where it gets difficult for them, and then tools to deal with that. So I think it's unusual in that. And I think as you have been for our Friday get-togethers, you will be posting the link.
Right. We'll post the link below the video. Too, we have kind of an information page that tells you a little bit more about the course and everything that it includes. But we've gotten some good feedback, and a few of the questions have been, do I have permanent access to the information? The answer is yes. You have lifetime access. You can go through it at your own pace. You can rewatch the videos as many times as you want. So if one particular point needs to be hammered home a little bit more, you can always revisit that. So, and if people have other questions, we're available here. You can comment on the video or reach out to us. We'll have our contact info here too.
And people have asked about the price. The price is $39.99, which is I think a very small price to pay for mental health.
Right. Right. It's cheaper than a therapy session.
It sure is. I can tell you that for sure.
That's right.
But the idea that, we really want to help you feel a little more grounded right now. I think to undertake a huge project is just too overwhelming for how most people are feeling emotionally kind of run down. So we really want to talk about this in terms of how can it feel better to you? How can you feel like you have some agency, some control, and really make yourself a more pleasant environment and be happy about, we're spending a lot of time at home right now, and we deserve to have a space that feels good. I just think that's very important right now.
I
That
agree.
to give that to ourselves, so important because we certainly are worrying about the state of the world, and so we offer this as a way to be helpful.
Yeah,
Is
I
there
agree.
anything else you want to say before we
I think we covered the decluttering of the bathroom pretty well
Mhm,
today. Again, if people
mhm,
have real specific questions, feel free to leave a comment. We go back and
mhm,
check and we'll answer those.
mhm,
Yeah, and we're going to continue doing this Fridays. We're going to kind of move through the different areas of the
mhm.
home. I think we're talking next week about our cars,
Yes, we are.
right?
Mhm.
Which I'm not spending a whole lot of time in lately, but it will be
Right.
nice at some point to have a nice clean car when we do,
Mhm,
right? Or even just for those stressful grocery runs, it's nice to have
mhm.
a clean, decluttered space. So,
It's
yeah, we'll
kind
be,
of it's funny because I actually just for the first time in years, I'm embarrassed to say, vacuumed out my car, and I have 2 dogs,
yeah.
so it was really disgusting. Uh, I found French fries that were like
Oh boy.
circa,
They're like
2018.
petrified under the
Yeah,
seat. Yeah,
the
that's
whole
rough.
thing was really humiliating. But the idea of now, like, I think of it not to be totally corny, but like it's really pleasant now
Hmm.
to make my 5-minute drives to
Isn't it
wherever I'm
though? When you
going,
get in and you're like,
like
wow.
I deserve a clean car. And
Yeah.
it feels good, and it's like one way I can feel a little bit better as
Hmm.
as I'm worried about these big things
I
that nobody
agree.
knows how to
I
fix.
agree. So we'll be bringing some good tips on
Get your
cleaning
Dr.
and
Bronner's out because that,
and your scrub brush.
yeah, and your scrub
Um,
brush.
yeah, but we'll be touching on that in some ways
Mhm.
to kind of keep depending on your situation, the stuff you have to keep in your car, how to keep it a little more under control in there too.
Under
So,
control, indeed. And if people have any comments about what they'd like to hear, we've
hmm,
already done the kitchen. That's a big one.
right,
But we have some other ideas, and just let us know what would be helpful. We really want to kind of
right,
put it under this umbrella of manageable, small wins, mini decluttering. If you have any ideas about things that you'd like some help with and you'd like us to comment on, we're having a lot of fun with this,
yeah,
and we'd like to be helpful. And so we're really open to any comments, suggestions. Just leave it in the comments, and we will definitely read any and all. And we will talk about it and have fun with it.
yeah. That sounds great.
Carrie, thanks so much for all your good
Sure.
advice.
Always good to talk to
It's
you.
always fun.
Yeah.
And see you all next week, Friday, 3 p.m. EST, and we'll talk about more micro decluttering to boost mood. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.